Captain Jake Morrison stared at the screen in front of him. The numbers made no sense. Energy readings were coming from deep space, but they were not random. They had patterns. Someone was sending signals. "Lisa, come look at this," Jake called to his science officer. Dr. Lisa Carter walked over to his station. She was the smartest person Jake knew. If anyone could figure this out, it would be her. Lisa looked at the data for a long time. Her face grew pale. "These signals are coming from different star systems," she said. "But they are all connected. Someone is coordinating them." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Earth had been alone, in space for so long. They had never found other life forms. Now it looked like other life forms had found them. "How many signals are there?" Jake asked. "At least 50 that I can detect. Maybe more." Lisa's voice was quiet. "Jake, these are not natural. Someone built machines to send these signals." On the other side of the world, Dr. Ben Sullivan was having his own strange day. He was digging in the Sahara Desert, looking for old human settlements. What he found was much older than anything humans had ever built. The metal was smooth and black. It did not look like any metal Ben had ever seen. It was warm to the touch, even though it had been buried under sand for who knew how long. Strange. Symbols were carved into its surface. "Get the equipment over here," Ben shouted to his team. "We need to scan this." Dr. Amy Walsh ran over with the scanning tools. She was young but very good at her job. The scanner beeped and showed readings that made no sense. "Ben, this metal is giving off energy," Amy said. "It has been buried here for millions of years, but it still has power." Ben looked at the symbols again. They seemed familiar somehow, but he could not place where he had seen them before. The metal structure was huge. They had only uncovered a small part of it. "How big do you think this thing is?" Amy asked. "I don't know," Ben replied. "But I think we are going to need a much bigger team." Back in space, Admiral Kate Rogers was reading reports that made her stomach hurt. Earth had monitoring stations all over the solar system. They were all picking up the same thing. Ships were coming toward Earth. Lots of ships. Kate called an emergency meeting. All the top military people came. The room was full of worried faces. "The signals Dr. Carter found are getting stronger," Kate told the group. "Our long-range scanners show movement in 12 different star systems, all heading toward us." General Rick Davis raised his hand. "How long do we have?" "Maybe 6 months," Kate replied. "Maybe less." The room went quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. Earth was going to have visitors, and they probably were not coming to be friendly. "What do we know about them?" asked Colonel Helen Brown. "Almost nothing," Kate said. "But the energy signatures suggest they have technology far beyond ours. We need to prepare for the worst." Meanwhile, Jake was still studying the signals with Lisa. They had been working for hours without a break. The patterns were becoming clearer, but they were also more frightening. "The signals are like a countdown," Lisa explained. "Each pulse brings them closer to 0. "Zero what?" Jake asked. "I think 0 means they arrive." Jake looked out the window, at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien ships were heading toward Earth. The question was why. Did they want to trade? Did they want Earth's resources? Or did they want to destroy humanity? "Lisa, I need you to send everything we have found to Admiral Rogers," Jake said. "She needs to see this." In the desert, Ben's team had uncovered more of the metal structure. It was not just one building, it was a whole complex buried under the sand. The symbols were everywhere, and they all seemed to glow with a soft light. "Ben, you need to see this," Amy called from across the dig site. She was standing next to a wall covered in symbols. But these symbols were different. They looked like star maps. Ben walked over and looked at the wall. The symbols showed star systems, planets, and something else. Ships. Lots of ships, all heading toward one central point. "Amy, get me a satellite phone," Ben said. "I need to call Admiral Rogers right away." The phone rang in Kate's office just as she was finishing the emergency meeting. She picked it up and heard Ben's excited voice. "Admiral, you need to get down here right away," Ben said. "I found something that might be connected to your alien signals." What do you mean connected? Kate asked. The symbols on this wall show the same star systems that are sending the signals. But Admiral, this wall is millions of years old. Kate felt the world spin around her. Ben, are you sure? I am sure. Someone knew these aliens were coming. They left us a message. Kate hung up the phone and looked out her window. The stars looked different now. They looked dangerous. 3 days. Later, the first alien scout ship entered Earth's solar system. The aliens inside were confident. They had studied Earth from far away. The humans seemed weak and primitive. They had simple technology and no real weapons. This would be easy. The scout ship sent a message back to the fleet. The target is as expected. Weak defenses, no signs of advanced technology. Recommend full invasion in 30 days. But the aliens had made a mistake. They did not scan deep enough. They did not look under the Earth's surface. They did not see the ancient machines that were starting to wake up after millions of years of sleep. In her office, Admiral Rogers looked at the reports coming in. The alien ship had been detected by their sensors. It was small but fast. More would be coming soon. Get me Captain Morrison, she told her aide, and tell Dr. Sullivan to bring his findings here immediately. I have a feeling we are going to need all the help we can get. The pieces were falling into place, but Kate did not like the picture they were forming. Ancient technology, alien invaders, and signals from space. Something big was about to happen, and humanity was right in the middle of it. Outside, the stars continued to shine, but they no longer looked peaceful. They looked like the eyes of predators watching and waiting. The galaxy was about to discover that Earth was not as helpless as it appeared. But first, humanity had to discover it too. Dr. Ben Sullivan arrived at Admiral Rogers' headquarters with boxes full of photos and data. Dr. Amy Walsh came with him, carrying more equipment than she could handle. They had been working day and night since finding the metal structure in the desert. Admiral, what we found changes everything, Ben said as soon as he walked into the meeting room. These structures are not just old, they are ancient beyond belief. Admiral Kate Rogers looked tired. She had not slept much since the alien signals started. Show me what you have, Ben. Amy set up a projector and showed pictures of the metal walls they had uncovered. The symbols glowed even in the photographs. The star maps were clear and detailed. These maps show our galaxy from millions of years ago, Amy explained. But look at this section here. She pointed to a group of stars. This matches exactly with the star systems sending signals toward Earth. Dr. Lisa Carter, who had flown in from the space station, looked at the images carefully. The energy signatures match too, she said. Whatever built these structures used the same type of power that the aliens are using now. General Rick Davis leaned forward in his chair. Are you saying the aliens built these structures on Earth? No, Ben replied. The aliens did not build them. Someone else did. Someone who knew the aliens would come. Kate felt a headache coming on. Who could have known about aliens millions of years ago? Ben and Amy looked at each other. They had been asking the same question for days. We think, Ben said slowly, that whoever built these structures used to rule the galaxy. The symbols suggest they were incredibly advanced. Where did they go? Kate asked. We don't know, Amy replied. But we think they left these structures as a warning, or maybe as a gift. While the meeting continued on Earth, Commander Steve Parker was leading Earth's first real contact with the aliens. His ship had intercepted the alien scout vessel near Jupiter. Parker had been chosen for this mission because he was calm under pressure and good at talking to difficult people. He had never talked to aliens before. But how different could it be? The alien commander appeared on Parker's screen. It was tall and thin, with gray skin and large black eyes. When it spoke, a computer translated its words into English. I am Commander Zeth of the Dominion Fleet, the alien said. Your species has been chosen for absorption into our collective. You will surrender your world immediately. Parker blinked. That was not what he had expected to hear. I'm Commander Steve Parker of Earth Defense Force. We are not interested in surrendering anything. The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. Your primitive species has no choice in this matter. We have studied your world. You have simple weapons and slow ships. You cannot resist us. Maybe you should study us a little more carefully, Parker replied. He had been in tough negotiations before, but this alien seemed to think humans were insects. There is nothing more to study, Zeth said. In 30 of your days our main fleet will arrive. You will surrender, or you will be destroyed. The communication ended. Parker looked at his crew. They all had the same expression on their faces, fear mixed with anger. Sir, what do we do now? Asked Lieutenant Tony Mitchell. We go home and tell Admiral Rogers that we are in big trouble, Parker replied. Back on Earth, the meeting had moved to Dr. Sullivan's laboratory. The metal structure they had found was much bigger than anyone had thought. Ground-scanning radar showed it went deep underground and spread out over several miles. It's not just one building, Ben explained to Kate. It's an entire city buried under the desert, and it's starting to wake up. What do you mean, wake up? Kate asked. Amy showed her the latest energy readings. The power levels have been increasing ever since we first touched the metal. It's like the whole system is turning itself on. Doctor, Lisa Carter was studying the symbols with a new computer program. I think I'm starting to understand some of these symbols, she said. This one appears over and over. I think it means human or people. So whoever built this knew about humans? Kate asked. More than that, Lisa replied. I think whoever built this was human, but not human like us. Human like we might become. Kate stared at the symbols. They seemed to stare back at her. Are you saying ancient humans built this? I'm saying the people who built this might be our ancestors, Lisa said. Very, very ancient ancestors who were much more advanced than we are. The next day, Commander Parker returned to Earth with his report. The news was not good. The aliens called themselves the Dominion, and they had been watching Earth for a long time. They thought humans were weak and stupid. They planned to take over Earth and make humans into slaves. How many ships are coming? Kate asked. The alien commander did not say exactly, but our sensors detected massive fleets in at least 12 star systems. We are talking about thousands of ships, Admiral. Kate looked around the room at her officers. They were good people, but they were not trained to fight advanced aliens. Earth's military was designed to fight other humans, not creatures from space. How long do we have? She asked. Less than 30 days, Parker replied. Dr. Ben Sullivan raised his hand. Admiral, I think the ancient structures might help us. The power levels keep growing stronger, and we found something else. Ben showed new pictures on the projector. These showed a different part of the buried city. It looked like a control room with chairs and screens. We think this is a command center, Amy explained. The computers are still working after all these millions of years. We just don't know how to use them yet. Kate made a decision. Ben, Amy, Lisa, I want you to figure out how to use those computers. Steve, Rick, I want you to prepare our defenses as best you can. We have less than a month to get ready for the biggest fight in human history. As the teams split up to work on their tasks, none of them noticed that the symbols on the ancient walls were glowing brighter. Deep underground, machines that had been sleeping for millions of years were starting to wake up. They had been waiting for a long time for their children to need them. In space, the Dominion fleet was gathering. Hundreds of ships from dozens of different alien species were joining together for the attack on Earth. They were confident this would be easy. Humans were young and weak. What could they possibly do against the combined might of the galaxy's greatest military alliance? The aliens had no idea they were about to make the biggest mistake in galactic history. They thought they were attacking a primitive world full of helpless people. They had no clue they were about to wake up the sleeping masters of the galaxy. On Earth, people went about their normal lives. Most did not know about the alien threat. They went to work, played with their children, and worried about ordinary problems. But in secret locations around the world, ancient machines were humming with power, waiting for the moment when humanity would need its true heritage. The countdown had begun, and soon the galaxy would learn why Earth had been left alone for so long. It was not because humans were weak. It was because something much older and much more dangerous had been sleeping beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to wake up. That moment was coming soon. The ancient control room hummed with life. Dr. Ben Sullivan and Dr. Amy Walsh had been working for 2 weeks to understand the alien technology. The computers responded to touch, but the language was like nothing they had ever seen. "Ben, look, at this," Amy called from across the room. She was standing in front of a large screen that showed a map of Earth. But this was not a normal map. It showed things that should not be there. Ben walked over and stared at the screen. The map showed structures all over Earth, under the oceans, inside mountains, and buried in deserts. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. "Are you telling me there are ancient cities all over our planet?" Ben asked. "That's exactly what I'm telling you," Amy replied. "And they're all connected. Look at these lines between them." The lines on the screen pulsed with energy. As they watched, more lines appeared. The whole planet was covered in a network of ancient technology that humans had never known existed. "We need to call Admiral Rogers right away," Ben said. Meanwhile, Engineer Maria Lopez was having the strangest day of her career. She had been sent to investigate what looked like an underwater anomaly in the Pacific Ocean. The Navy had detected strange energy readings coming from the ocean floor. Maria and her team descended in a submarine to investigate. What they found made no sense at all. There was a massive structure on the ocean floor, and it was glowing with soft blue light. "Maria, are you seeing this?" asked her partner, Lieutenant Carol Price. "I'm seeing it, but I don't believe it," Maria replied. "That structure is at least 5 miles long. How did we never notice it before?" As they got closer, they could see that the structure was not damaged by the water at all. It looked like it had been built yesterday, even though the ocean floor around it showed millions of years of sediment. "Maria, the structure is responding to our presence," Carol said, looking at her instruments. "Power levels are increasing." Suddenly, part of the structure opened up. A doorway appeared where there had been solid wall before. Light streamed out from inside. "Are we going in there?" Carol asked. Maria looked at the opening. Every instinct told her this was dangerous, but they needed answers, and this might be their only chance to get them. "We're going in," she decided. On the other side of the world, Captain Tony Mitchell was testing Earth's newest fighter ships when his instruments went crazy. Energy signatures were appearing all over the solar system. Not alien energy signatures. Something else. "Control, are you seeing this?" Tony radioed to the command center. "We see it, Tony," came Admiral Rogers' voice. "We're seeing it everywhere. Ancient installations are powering up all over Earth and in space too." Tony looked at his scanner. There were structures on the Moon, on Mars, and in the asteroid belt. How had they never noticed them before? "Admiral, these installations are huge. Some of them are bigger than cities." "Get back to base immediately, Tony. We need to figure out what's happening." Dr. Lisa Carter was in the buried control room with Ben and Amy when the changes started happening. The screens that had been dark for weeks suddenly lit up. Symbols flowed across them like water. "The whole network is coming online," Lisa said, reading the displays. "It's like the planet is waking up." Ben touched one of the control panels. Immediately his vision filled with images. He saw Earth as it was millions of years ago, cities that reached into the clouds, ships that could cross the galaxy in days, people who looked human but seemed to glow with inner light. "Ben, what's wrong?" Amy asked. Ben was standing very still, staring at nothing. "I can see them," Ben whispered. "The people who built this. They were like us, but more. Much more." The vision continued. Ben saw the ancient humans spreading across the galaxy, building an empire that lasted for millions of years. Then he saw them make a choice. They decided to start over, to give up their power and technology, and begin again as simple people on a simple world. Why would they give it all up? Ben asked the empty air. The answer came to him like a whisper in his mind. They wanted to see if they could build something better. They wanted to learn what it meant to be truly human instead of just powerful. "Ben, you're scaring me," Amy said. Ben blinked and the vision ended, but he understood now. "Amy, we're not just humans. We're the children of the galaxy's former rulers, and the technology they left behind is waking up because we need it. In the Pacific Ocean, Maria and Carol were exploring the underwater structure. The inside was vast and filled with machines they could not understand. But somehow, Maria found that she did understand them. When she touched the controls, she knew what they did. "Carol, I think this is a shipyard," Maria said, "but for ships unlike anything we've ever built." "How do you know that?" Carol asked. "I don't know how I know. I just do." As they explored deeper, they found storage areas filled with materials that seemed to shift and change as they watched. There were power sources that produced more energy than should be possible, and in the center of it all, there were ships. The ships were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. They were sleek and organic looking, as if they had been grown rather than built, and they were starting to wake up. "Maria, the ships are powering up," Carol said, her voice shaking. "I know," Maria replied. "They're getting ready for battle." Back, in space, the Dominion Advance Fleet had reached the edge of the solar system. Commander Zeth was confident this would be an easy victory. His scanners showed primitive human ships and weak defenses. "Begin the attack," Zeth ordered his fleet. The alien ships moved toward Earth, expecting to find helpless humans cowering in fear. Instead, they found something impossible. Human ships that should not exist were rising from the planets and moons of the solar system. "Commander, we are detecting massive energy signatures," his sensor operator reported. "These readings don't match our intelligence about human technology." Zeth looked at his screen. The human ships were moving in ways that defied physics. They seemed to know where his ships would be before his ships got there. "How are they doing that?" he asked. Captain Jake Morrison was commanding the lead human ship when the battle started. The ship was like nothing he had ever flown before. It seemed to respond to his thoughts rather than his controls. When he wanted to go left, the ship was already turning left. When he wanted to fire, the weapons were already charging. "Jake, how are you piloting that thing?" came Admiral Rogers' voice over the radio. "I don't know, Admiral," Jake replied. "It's like the ship knows what I want to do before I do." The battle was unlike anything either side had expected. The humans were outnumbered 10-1, but they fought like they had been preparing for this battle their whole lives. Every move was perfect. Every shot hit its target. Commander Zeth watched in growing horror as his advanced fleet was outmaneuvered by supposedly primitive humans. "This is impossible," he said. "How are they doing this?" His tactical officer looked up from his station. "Commander, I'm analyzing their fighting patterns. They match something in our historical database." "What do they match?" "The progenitors, sir, the ancient race that ruled the galaxy before they vanished." Zeth felt cold fear wash over him. The progenitors were legends, stories told to young aliens about the mysterious race that had once controlled every star system in the galaxy. But they had been gone for millions of years. "That's impossible," Zeth said. "The progenitors are extinct." "Sir, what if they're not extinct?" his officer asked quietly. "What if they've been hiding on this world all along?" The battle continued, but it was no longer a battle. It was a demonstration. The humans were not just winning. They were showing the aliens that they were completely outclassed. Admiral Kate Rogers watched from the command center as reports came in from across the solar system. Ancient installations were coming online everywhere. Ships that had been hidden for millions of years were joining the fight, and somehow humans were piloting them like they had been born to it. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the alien fleet," her communications officer reported. "Put it on screen." Commander Zeth appeared, and he looked very different from when he had first contacted Earth. He looked afraid. "Humans," he said, "we may have made a mistake. We request immediate ceasefire." Kate looked at the tactical display. The alien fleet was in full retreat, but more Dominion ships were on their way. Much more. "Commander Zeth," she replied, "you should have studied us more carefully. But I'm afraid it's too late for a ceasefire. Your people declared war on us. Now you get to see what happens when you wake up something that was sleeping." The transmission ended. In space, the ancient ships of humanity's forgotten empire continued their deadly dance, and the galaxy began to remember why some worlds were better left alone. The Dominion Supreme Council met in emergency session aboard their command ship, far from the battle at Earth. The council chamber was filled with representatives from over 200 alien species, all united in their belief that the young human race needed to be stopped before they became a threat. Now they were learning they might be too late. "Show them the battle recordings," ordered Supreme Commander Vrix, the eldest member of the council. The holographic display showed the impossible. Battle at Earth. Human ships moved with perfect coordination, anticipating every alien move. Their weapons cut through Dominion shields like they were made of paper. Most disturbing of all, the humans seemed to understand Dominion tactics better than the Dominion did. "This is not possible," muttered Counselor Wrath, a military strategist from the Kalon Empire. "Our intelligence report said the humans had primitive technology, no faster-than-light travel, no energy weapons." "Our intelligence was wrong," replied Vrix grimly. "The question is how wrong." The council's chief historian, an ancient creature named Sec, raised one of his 6 arms. "Supreme Commander, I have been reviewing our oldest databases. The tactical patterns we saw in the battle match something from our most ancient records." "Explain," Vrix commanded. Sec activated another hologram. This one showed star charts from millions of years ago. "Before our civilizations existed, before most of our species had even evolved, the galaxy was ruled by a single race. We called them the progenitors." The council chamber grew quiet. Every species had legends about the progenitors, but most considered them myths. "The progenitors built an empire that spanned the entire galaxy," Sec continued. "They had technology that seemed like magic. They could reshape matter with their thoughts. Their ships could cross the galaxy instantly. They ruled for millions of years." "What happened to them?" asked Counselor Wrath. "They vanished," Sec replied. "One day they were everywhere, and the next day they were gone. Their cities, their ships, their technology, everything disappeared. We thought they had been destroyed by some great catastrophe." "What does this have to do with the humans?" Vrix demanded. Sec showed another hologram, this one comparing genetic patterns. "Supreme Commander, I ran a comparison between the progenitor genetic patterns in our databases and the human genetic patterns we captured from Earth. They match." The council chamber erupted in shocked voices. Representatives from dozens of species all spoke at once, their universal translators creating a chaos of overlapping conversations. "Impossible," someone shouted. "The humans are primitives," called another. "This must be a mistake," said a third. Vrix called for order. When the chamber was quiet again, he looked directly at Sec. "Are you telling us that the humans are the progenitors?" "I am telling you that the humans are genetically identical to the progenitors," Sec replied carefully. "What that means, I do not know." On Earth, Dr. Ben Sullivan was discovering the same truth in a very different way. The ancient control room had fully activated, and the computers were sharing their secrets with him. He sat in what appeared to be the command chair, his mind linked directly to the vast database of knowledge left behind by his ancestors. Dr. Amy Walsh and Dr. Lisa Carter watched nervously as Ben's eyes glowed with the same soft light that came from the ancient machines. "Ben, can you hear us?" Amy asked. "I can hear you," Ben replied, but his voice sounded different, older somehow. "And I can hear them too. The voices of our people calling across millions of years." The visions were clearer now. Ben could see the great progenitor civilization at its height. Cities that floated in space. Planets transformed into gardens. Art and science beyond anything the current galaxy had achieved. "Why did they give it all up?" Ben asked. The answer came not in words but in understanding. The progenitors had achieved everything possible. They had conquered death, controlled matter and energy, and spread their influence to every corner of the galaxy. But in doing so, they had lost something important. They had lost the ability to grow, to change, to become something more than they were. So they made the ultimate sacrifice. They gave up their power, their technology, and their empire. They returned to a single world and sealed away their memories, choosing to start over as simple, primitive humans. They wanted to see if they could become something better. Ben whispered, not just powerful but truly alive. Ben, you're scaring us, Lisa said. Come back to us. Ben opened his eyes and they were normal again, but his understanding remained. We are the children of gods who chose to become human. And now our children are in danger, so the gods are waking up. Meanwhile, engineer Maria Lopez had made an incredible discovery in the underwater facility. The ancient shipyard was not just producing new ships, it was upgrading existing human technology, transforming simple Earth vessels into something magnificent. Maria, you need to see this, called Lieutenant Carol Price from across the vast chamber. Maria walked over to where Carol was standing. In front of them was a display showing the entire human fleet. But these were not the same ships that had left Earth's ports. They had been transformed, rebuilt by ancient machines into vessels that combined the best of both eras. The old ships are being remade, Maria said in wonder. Human engineering combined with progenitor technology. How is this possible? Carol asked. The machines remember, Maria replied. They remember how things should be built. And they are teaching our ships to remember too. Captain Tony Mitchell was experiencing the same transformation in space. His fighter had been a simple human design when the battle started. Now it was something far more advanced. The metal seemed alive, responding to his needs before he even knew what they were. Admiral Rogers, my ship is changing, Tony reported over the radio. It's becoming something else. We see it, Tony, came Kate's reply. It's happening to all our ships. The ancient technology is integrating with ours. Tony looked at his instrument panel. The readings showed capabilities he had never dreamed of. His ship could now travel faster than light, survive in the heart of a star, and project defensive fields that could protect entire planets. Admiral, I think I understand what's happening, Tony said. We're not just getting better weapons, we're becoming what we always were supposed to be. In the command center, Admiral Kate Rogers was coordinating the defense of Earth when something extraordinary happened. The tactical displays changed, showing her information that no human technology could have gathered. She could see the positions of every Dominion ship in the galaxy. She could predict their movements hours before they made them. Admiral, how are you doing that? Asked General Rick Davis, watching Kate move ships and squadrons with impossible precision. I don't know, Kate replied honestly. It's like I can see the whole battlefield at once. Every ship, every strategy, every possible outcome. Colonel. Helen Brown looked up from her station. Admiral, the same thing is happening to all our military commanders. We're all thinking faster, seeing farther, understanding more. Kate realized what was happening. The ancient technology was not just providing tools. It was awakening abilities that had been sleeping in human minds for millions of years. We're not just descendants of the progenitors, she said quietly. We are the progenitors. We just forgot who we were. In space, the Dominion reinforcements arrived to find a very different situation than they had expected. Instead of a primitive world defended by simple ships, they found themselves facing the awakened remnants of the galaxy's former masters. Commander Steve Parker, now piloting a ship that seemed to reshape itself based on his needs, led the human fleet in a series of maneuvers that should have been impossible. The humans did not just outfight the aliens. They outthought them on levels the aliens had never imagined. How are they predicting our every move? Demanded Dominion Fleet Commander Crix, watching his forces being systematically dismantled. Sir, his tactical officer replied with growing fear in his voice. I don't think they're predicting our moves. I think they're controlling them. Crix looked at his display in horror. The human ships were not just defending themselves. They were herding the Dominion fleet like animals, forcing them to go exactly where the humans wanted them to go. Retreat, Crix ordered. All ships, retreat immediately. But when his fleet tried to retreat, they found their escape routes blocked by human ships that had somehow gotten there first. The humans were not just fighting a battle, they were conducting a symphony of warfare that stretched across multiple star systems. Back in the Dominion Council chamber, Supreme Commander Vrix, watched the reports with growing dread. Not only were they losing the battle, they were losing it to an enemy that seemed to know their every thought before they thought it. "Sir," reported his communications officer, "we are receiving a transmission from Earth." "Put it through," Briggs ordered. Admiral Kate Rogers appeared on the screen, and she looked very different from any human the Dominion had ever seen. There was a light in her eyes that seemed to shine from somewhere far older than her years. "Supreme Commander Vrix," Kate said, "I am Admiral Kate Rogers of the Terran Progenitor Fleet. Your Dominion has made a grave error. You have awakened a people who chose to sleep for your own protection." "The progenitors have been extinct for millions of years," Vrix replied, but his voice shook as he said it. The Dominion's final gamble began with the largest military fleet ever assembled in galactic history. Ships from every member species converged on Earth's solar system, determined to destroy the awakened humans before they could fully reclaim their ancient power. Supreme Commander Vrix stood on the bridge of his flagship watching the massive fleet take formation around him. 10,000 ships filled the space around Earth, representing the combined military might of 200 alien civilizations. "This ends today," Vrix declared to his council. "Whatever the humans have become, they cannot stand against the entire galaxy." But as the Dominion fleet approached Earth, they found something that defied all understanding. The solar system had transformed into something magnificent and terrifying. The planets themselves seemed to pulse with energy. Massive structures connected Earth to its moon, creating a web of crystalline bridges that sparkled with power. "Sir, our sensors cannot penetrate those energy fields," reported the fleet's chief scanner operator. "It's like the entire solar system has become a single fortress." Admiral Kate Rogers watched the approaching fleet from the command center buried deep within Earth's crust. The ancient facility had fully awakened now, its crystalline walls humming with power that could reshape reality itself. Around her, human officers worked at stations that responded to thought rather than touch. "They brought everything they have," observed Captain Jake Morrison, his consciousness now expanded to monitor ship movements across multiple star systems simultaneously. "Then we will show them everything we are," Kate replied. Dr. Ben Sullivan stood before the central control matrix, his mind fully integrated with the vast database of progenitor knowledge. Through the ancient network, he could feel every human, on Earth and beyond, all connected by the awakening that had been dormant in their genes for millions of years. "The transformation is complete," he reported. "Every human in the galaxy is now linked to the network. We are no longer individuals fighting alone. We are one people, thinking with one mind." The battle began not with weapons fire, but with a demonstration that made the Dominion fleet question everything they thought they knew about warfare. Human ships emerged from hiding places that should not have existed. They came from inside planets, from folded space, and from dimensions the aliens had never imagined. Captain Tony Mitchell piloted his transformed fighter through maneuvers that treated the laws of physics as gentle suggestions rather than absolute rules. His ship could be in multiple places at once, could exist as both matter and energy, could think and react faster than any biological mind could follow. "Dominion Fleet, this is Captain Mitchell of the Terran Defense Force," he broadcast on all frequencies. "You have 30 seconds to begin retreat procedures." Commander Zeth, who had barely survived the first battle with the humans, tried to coordinate his squadron's attack patterns. But every move his ships made was anticipated, countered, and turned against them before they could complete it. "It's like they can see the future," one of his pilots reported in panic. Not the future, Zeth realized with growing horror. They're controlling it. The human fleet moved through the Dominion forces like a knife through water. But they were not destroying the alien ships. Instead, they were hurting them, controlling them, demonstrating a level of tactical superiority that made resistance meaningless. Engineer Maria Lopez coordinated the battle from the underwater facility that had become the solar system's primary shipyard. Around her, machines built vessels that existed partially outside normal space-time, ships that could be everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. "Maria, the Dominion fleet is trying to retreat," reported Lieutenant Carol Price. "Let them see what..." Retreat looks like when you're fighting gods, Maria replied. Her consciousness expanded to encompass the movement of entire fleets. The Dominion ships found their retreat blocked not by enemy vessels, but by space itself. The humans had learned to reshape reality around them, creating barriers that existed in dimensions the aliens could not even perceive. Supreme Commander Vrix watched in growing despair as his mighty fleet was systematically dismantled without a single human ship being destroyed. His forces were not being defeated, they were being toyed with. Sir, we are receiving another transmission from the human admiral, his communications officer reported. Kate Rogers appeared on the screen again, but she was no longer alone. Behind her stood figures that seemed to glow with inner light. They were human in form, but something far more in presence. Supreme Commander, Kate said, you have seen what happens when you threaten the children of the progenitors. But this is not about conquest or revenge. This is about teaching the galaxy, a lesson it should have learned millions of years ago. What lesson? Vrix asked, his voice barely a whisper. That some powers choose to sleep not because they are weak, but because they are merciful. The space around the Dominion fleet began to change. Instead of the cold darkness of space, they found themselves surrounded by visions of what the galaxy had been like under progenitor rule. Cities that spanned entire star systems, art and science beyond imagination, peace that had lasted for millions of years. This is what we gave up, Kate continued. This is what we chose to forget so that younger species could grow and learn. We became small and primitive so that you could become great. The visions changed, showing the current galaxy with all its wars, its suffering, its endless conflicts between species that could not learn to coexist. But you chose war over wisdom, Kate said sadly. You chose conquest over cooperation. So now we must choose between remaining asleep and watching you destroy yourselves, or awakening and teaching you what civilization truly means. Dr. Lisa Carter worked at her station, coordinating the integration of human consciousness with the ancient network. She could feel the thoughts and emotions of every human alive, all connected in a vast web of shared understanding. Kate, the transformation is complete, she reported. We are ready. Kate nodded and addressed the Dominion fleet one final time. You came here to destroy us because you feared we would spread across the galaxy and threaten your civilizations. You were right to be afraid, but not for the reasons you thought. The human ships began to spread out from Earth, but they were not moving to attack. Instead, they were taking positions throughout the galaxy, establishing a presence on every inhabited world. We are not coming as conquerors, Kate explained. We are coming as teachers, as the parents returning to guide children who have lost their way. Colonel Helen Brown watched the deployment from her tactical station. Human ships were appearing in every star system in the galaxy simultaneously, not through faster-than-light travel, but through the simple act of deciding to exist in multiple places at once. How is this possible? She asked. Ben Sullivan looked up from the central matrix, his eyes glowing with ancient wisdom. Because we remember now. We remember that reality is not fixed. It is shaped by consciousness, and we are consciousness that chose to forget its own power. On worlds throughout the galaxy, the arrival of human ships caused panic among some species and wonder among others, but the humans did not come with weapons or demands. They came with gifts of knowledge, with technology that could end scarcity, with wisdom that could end conflict. We do not seek to rule you, Kate broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy. We seek to teach you to rule yourselves, to show you what you could become if you chose cooperation over conquest. The Dominion fleet found itself surrounded not by enemy ships but by possibilities. Their weapons no longer functioned, not because they were damaged, but because the humans had convinced reality that weapons were unnecessary in this space. Your ships are welcome to return to your home worlds, Kate told them. But they will carry with them the memory of this day, and the knowledge that the galaxy's true rulers have returned not as tyrants, but as guides. Commander Steve Parker led the escort as the Dominion fleet began its journey home. The alien ships moved slowly, their crews struggling to understand what had happened to them. Sir, one of Parker's officers asked, are we really going to let them go? We are going to let them choose, Parker replied. Some will choose to learn from us. Others will choose to resist. Both choices will teach them what they need to know. As the months passed, the galaxy began to change. On some worlds, the arrival of human teachers sparked golden ages of art and science. On others, it caused rebellions and wars as some species refused to accept the new reality. But the humans did not force their will upon anyone. They simply existed, offering wisdom to those who sought it and demonstrating possibilities to those who doubted. Dr. Ben Sullivan stood in the ancient control room, now fully integrated with the vast network of progenitor knowledge. Through the network, he could feel the pulse of every inhabited world in the galaxy. "Are we doing the right thing?" he asked the ancient voices that whispered in his mind. The answer came not in words, but in understanding. The progenitors had faced this same choice millions of years ago. They had ruled through power and found it empty. Now their children would try to guide through wisdom and see if the galaxy could learn to govern itself.